Chapter 2 is called Saber-toothed Driver Dragons. I'm reading How to Cheat a Dragon's Curse. Gobber's enormous snores rang out like a walrus calling to another walrus at some 50 icebergs away. As if they were all part of the same creature, the pack of saber-toothed driver dragons settled themselves down on the ice and refused to move. By Woden's armpit, but those drivers were big. That's a saber-toothed driver dragon. Oh, they're quite sort of larnish. Very fierce. The boys looked at them. Well, come on then, Hiccup, grunted Warthog impatiently. Take charge. Hiccup cleared his throat and used his most reasonable voice. Okay, guys, he said in Dragonese, I don't want any trouble. Oh, look, it talks, hissed a particularly large and savage-looking saber-tooth. He was missing an eye, and from the specially royal way he held himself, he seemed to be the leader of the pack. The little human tadpole is speaking the noble dragon tongue. The other drivers laughed jeeringly. We all know what you're supposed to be doing here. What we're supposed to be doing here, Hiccup continued. We know what we're going to be doing, sneered the driver, closing his one eye and settling himself comfortably. We're going to have a nice long sleep right here while you sweat it up the largest mountain in the Inner Isles. Oh, for though's sake, exploded thoughtful Snotflake. Not that girly speaking Dragonese stuff isn't going to work with these brutes. I love this is Gobber and Dogrether Jarrain all bunned up against the snow. Snotlout grabbed the black whip from Gobber's relaxed hand and cracked it. Snap! The driver dragons blinked open their eyes. Snotlout cracked the whip again, this time letting the end of it lash the face of the saber-tooth with one eye. The driver sprang to his feet with a yowl of pain, and the rest of the pack followed him. Furious but respectful, the boys cheered. That's the way to do it, grinned Snotlout, whipping another of the dragons for the pure pleasure of it. The animal howled and Snotlout laughed. Disobey me, would you? Snivelling, crawling pieces of fork-tongued rubbish. That'll learn you. Don't do that, Snotlout, said Hiccup quietly. Hiccup didn't normally stand up to Snotlout, but he couldn't bear to see an animal as proud and dignified as a saber-toothed driver made to dance about like a monkey. Snotlout stopped what he was doing to turn on Hiccup. What's this? Snorted Snotlout. Is Hiccup the useless trying to tell Snotlout the hero what to do? Face it, Hiccup, the snow will turn as blue as Gobber the Welch's nose before you become the chief of the Cooligan tribe. Snotlout snapped the whip, and it curled cruelly forward as Hiccup, hitting him on the chest. It would have been a very painful lash if it hadn't been for the fact that sleeping down Hiccup's waistcoat was Hiccup's small, disobedient hunting dragon, Toothless. The cutting edge of the whip hit Toothless on the hard, horny skin of his behind and woke him right out of his hibernation sleep. Toothless climbed up out of Hiccup's collar onto his shoulder and puffed out his neck and fury. So something hit Toothless on the bottom. How can Toothless sleep with things hitting him on the bottom? Why isn't your ridiculous pinprick of a hunting dragon hibernating like all the others? Blustered Snotlout. I was worried he was getting too cold, replied Hiccup, smoothing Toothless by scratching him softly in between the horns. He didn't dig himself a deep enough hibernation hole, and if a dragon gets too cold, he can stay asleep for centuries. So I dug him up, and I've been carrying him around with me to keep me warm. And now Toothless has woken up too early, raged Toothless. It's freezing. What? Scoffed Snotlout. What is your pathetic pinprick of a dragon? But Toothless was the smallest hunting dragon anybody has ever seen before or since. What is your ridiculous frog spawn of a reptile wearing? Toothless was wearing a fur coat. Hiccup had made it in a desperate attempt to keep the little dragon warm. Oh, this is too good. Hold on to me, dog's breath. Snorted Snotlout. Hiccup has made his equal teeny dragon an equal teeny tiny dress. It's a coat, hissed Toothless. It's a coat. A dragon in a dress, squealed Snotlout. Ha 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 ha, bawled the boys. A dragon in a dress. Even the saber-toothed driver dragons joined in. "Oh, my claws and jaws," drawled One Eye. "I do believe that is the smallest hunting dragon I have ever seen, dressed up in human wrappings. Has it no shame?" Poor Toothless stood up. "Oh, poor Toothless, look. He's trying to be dignified. He's very upset." Took stood up very straight and stiff on Hiccup's shoulder, beginning with his horns and spreading slowly downwards. He turned a delicate shade of pink. He closed his jaws tightly and smoke rings blew out of his ears. It's a very stylish winter coat," he said gruffly. You're all jealous." Stockeye started barking out orders. "Okay, we wasted enough time here. Everybody get themselves into pairs and grab onto the harness of one of those saber-toothed brutes. You two losers," he pointed at Hiccup and Fishlegs, "can have the half-blind one." "You don't like us humans much, do you, One Eye?" said Hiccup, as he and Fishlegs shuffled themselves into position behind the saber-tooth. One Eye spat a great burst of fire into the snow. "Don't like you?" he hissed. "I'll load you with every drop of my pure green blood. All you humans are treacherous, ignorant, greedy, and violent. I've been leader of my pack for 40 years, through good times and hard. What does Snotmouth know about true leadership? He's just a pig with a whip in his hand. My fangs itch with my hatred. My fangs ache with my hatred. My claws itch to scratch out every single two-legged, mud-bound, jaw-flapping human on this entire planet. Oh, he really doesn't like humans." "Oh, great," said Fishlegs nervously. "We have a driver dragon who hates us. This morning just gets better and better." By the time they got going, with One Eye dragging them very slowly up the gorge and through the thick pine forest, there was no sign of the other boys. The forest ended as suddenly as it had begun, and on the final sheer climb to the top of Mount Villainy, they did not pass a single tree. One Eye halted at the peak of Mount Villainy. A lone boulder marked the highest point. Hanging on firmly to this rock to prevent the wind or the sheer dizzying pull of the abyss from carrying him over the edge, Hiccup peered down the other side of the mountain into the wrath of Thor. Those are the two islands. And that's the wrath of Thor. What's going to be down there? Normally, the sea and the Doomfang roared and raged through that spiteful slit, whirlpooling and spiralling and crashing into each other. Now the crack was as still and frozen as death itself, and the only sign of the Doomfang was a dreadful moaning that drummed in the ears like a headache and a dark shadow moving slowly under the ice, like a gigantic cloud building up before a thunderstorm. "Let's get out of here as quickly as we can," shivered Fishlegs. "There are a lot of creepy places in the barbaric archipelago, but this has got to be the grimmest and the creepiest." I don't know whether you have ever tried hunting with bows and arrows on skis, but it really is quite a complicated skill. Skiing downhill itself is hard enough, and then you have to concentrate on actually hitting the pesky little semi-spotted snowpeckers. Not too easy, because they flit about like hummingbirds. On top of the basic difficulties of the sport, Fishlegs was the most appalling skier and a terrible shot. His bow whirled around like a windmill as he tried to keep his balance, and even if his hands had been steady as a rock, a dreadful squint meant that his eyes were as crossed as his skis, and frankly, any chance of him hitting anything at all would be a matter of pure fluke. He wobbled forwards, knees bent as if sitting on the lavatory, I think it says. Yes, lavatory. Skis pointing inwards in the snow plough position, and at the first hint of a little bump in the snow, he fell over and his skis fell off. Hiccup wasn't as bad as Fishlegs, but any sport is not just about skill, it is about heart, and Hiccup's heart wasn't really in this. Oh, he didn't really want to hit a semi-spotted snowpeckers, which were charming little birds that Hiccup often watched from his window. They built themselves interesting little nests, like tiny igloos. So after an hour and a half, despite the fact that semi-spotted snowpeckers were jumping all around like fleas on a cow's back, Hiccup and Fishlegs had not shot a single bird. "Bother, bother, bother!" exclaimed Hiccup as he missed yet another one. One Eye seemed hugely amused by the whole thing. "You are interesting humans," he drawled. "I've never met Vikings like this before. You're tiny and not very tough. You can't ski, you can't hunt, you can't yell for toffee." "Oh, shut up," snapped Hiccup frostily. Fishlegs fallen over exactly 54 times. He was now covered with snow and wet through, and his aim was not improved by his violent shivering. On top of this, he seemed to be catching a nasty cold. "Oh, this is hopeless," he exclaimed. "Absolutely hopeless. Achoo! It's not that dog breaths will have probably murdered half the bird population in the archipelago by now, and we can't even get ourselves one measly snowpecker. Why won't the wretched little bird stay still for 1 millisecond?" As Hiccup helped Fishlegs to his feet for the 55th time, he thought he heard something almost like deep human laughter. It seemed to be coming from some distance below them, from behind a snowdrift. We'll find out who's laughing tomorrow.